From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen, and proudly welcoming you into this Wednesday's edition of For the People on November the 15th, 2017. Roy Moore's accusers are coming out by the dozens. Multiple women saying that they were abused, a proposition by Roy Moore in his 30s, and they were mere teenagers. And Roy Moore claims that he's not giving up the fight for the Senate. He is in, and he says this is against his conservative values and everything that he stands for, everything that he's been fighting for. Here is Roy Moore with his defense.
After 40-something years of fighting this battle, I'm now facing allegations. And that's all the press want to talk about. But I want to talk about the issues. I want to talk about where this country's going. And if we don't come back to God, we're not going anywhere.
All right, that's right there. You don't got me. Don't invoke God in this one. Where there's smoke, there's fire, sir. I am conservative, but I cannot defend you. You have to explain yourself. And you've not done a very good job. Sean Hannity has given an opportunity for you to go on his television show to do so. You have not properly explained it. These are very salacious accusations. And, you know, you can say that this is an attack from the left, and maybe it is in some ways. But if any of these accusations are true, then you can't blame the left for what you did 30-something years ago, 20-something years ago, can you? I mean, it's your hometown. I mean, we have a former mall worker, and let's just go there, forget about the girls, because what he says about the girls, though, in the mall, and this has been out there for some time, the former mall employee, Greg Leggett, he claims that he worked at the mall in Roy Moore's hometown, and that Moore had been banned because he was bothering young women. A CNN reporter, and I'm not a big fan of CNN, as you know, but Gary Tuchman, he interviewed the former mall employee, collaborated an embarrassing story, and said that Alabama Senator candidate Roy Moore had been banned at the mall for approaching young females. So looking into the story, it looks like that the story actually holds true. Roy Moore, beloved in his hometown of Gadsden, Alabama, and in the state of Alabama, but Tuchman says not everybody likes him so much. He says today's numerous people pulled us over. He continued Democrats and Republicans to tell us about their claims of things they saw or things they heard about Moore's behavior with teenage girls before he got married in 1985. Now we can tell you that most of these people do not want to go on camera. They're afraid to go on camera, but one man did with a related story. He worked at the Gadsden Mall and explained a local mall here and a music store between 1981 and 1985. He says that when he was hired, he was told that the mall had a list of people banned from the mall. Guess who was on that list, folks? Roy Moore. If he saw any of these people on the unofficial list, he was to report it. Now, people on the list included pickpocketers and other kinds of criminals, pedophiles, etc. And it also included a certain assistant district attorney. We talked about other people, said Greg Leggett, the former mall employee. And then somebody said, don't forget about Roy Moore. And he said that he asked, what about Roy Moore? And they said, well, he's banned from the mall. I said, why is he banned? He continued. And the police officer wouldn't tell me. He said that if you see him, let me know, and I'll take care of him. So what did you eventually learn as for the reason why he was banned from the mall? The CNN reporter asked. I was told that he was bothering girls in the mall, Leggett answered. In what way? Tuchman pressed. I don't know how exactly, he responded, that he was approaching them and talking to them. He clarified to say that he meant teenage girls. I don't know anything about any behavior towards any women, he said later in the interview. All I know is my experience in the mall with him at the time, and that's the truth. I don't have any axe to grind against Roy Moore. You asked me, and I told you. Leggett is confirming the story that shows Moore might have had a history of seeking out young women to the point where a mall had to ban him, and more accusers in the mall that worked there seem to be coming forward. And there is some pretty salacious claims. I mean, Moore at 30 then was going after 12, 13-year-olds, and that's just disgusting. I don't care how old you are or what your accomplishments were on the bench or what your contributions were to conservatism. You lost my vote. You lost my confidence. You lost me. You lost me. And it happened a long time ago, and I'll have to say it's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. But the Weinsteins and all the celebrities now that are, getting called out on the carpet literally for their antics, and producers from NBC, I mean, they're coming out. And left and right they will, from left to the right, it'll be coming out from all different types. I think this is a purging. I think this is actually a good thing. I'm glad that it's finally coming to light. It's something that I'm sure that if you've been abused and you've messed with girls, and these are the ones that we just heard about, God knows how many others fell victim to this predatory type of behavior. Now, I went to school, and much like most of my audience, and maybe you liked a girl that was a year or two younger, maybe. But not being 30 years old and going after 12, 13-year-olds. I mean, we used to say in high school, 16 will get you 20. Or what was it? Yeah, something like you just, if they were a minor, you didn't mess with it. And some of the rebuttals, some of the questioning for Roy Moore just did not set well with me, if you really want to know the honest truth. Kind of like, in Alabama, it's, considered consensual at, 14? Something like that back in the 70s, and you're 30 years old? What 14-year-old girl, unless she's got some serious issues at home, is going to get in the car with a 30-year-old man? I don't know. I never met any that seemed to be loose like that, literally. To go out with an older, they would run. Stranger danger. At least the school I went to. Was it different in Alabama? I know we have Alabama listeners, or those that have been in the state and lived in the state. I'd like to hear from you at For the People Show on Facebook, or you can send me an email at forthepeopleshow.com. Let me know if you remember how things were back in the 70s. But that is really bizarre behavior. And it really just peeves me. It just upsets me when you invoke God in this whole particular thing and, say this is a big conspiracy or something like that, when there's actual factual truth. And I'll tell you, If you're in a small town, people are going to remember you. 30 years can go by. They'll remember you. I can go to my hometown, and 25, 30 years later, people still recognize me and can still tell you stories about me. Of course, the stories about me had nothing to do with picking up young girls. They might tell you I pulled the fire alarm one year, and I got very reprimanded, and that never happened again. It was a false alarm. I was curious. I was, 11, 12. I did stupid things. It's like a lot of people do, but this is more than stupid. This is predatory. This is, you wouldn't want Uncle Roy Moore over at the house if you knew this stuff, and let alone to be a senator. Mitch McConnell, he's not crazy about it. Most of the right is distancing themselves, like, you know what, forget about this. Let's see what Mitch...
I'd like to save the seat, and it's a heck of a dilemma when you've got a completely unacceptable candidate bearing the label of your party within a month of the election. It's a very tough situation.
It is a very tough situation. He just does nothing to redeem himself, and what he says, it seems like he's more on the defense, and it doesn't really seem like he really has any really good answers, and I think he's probably shocked that this many years later it comes up. He's probably hoping to God nobody would do it, but I'll tell you, it's a very contentious race. And any ground that the left can get, the right's going to do the same thing. They're going to dig up dirt, as much dirt as they can possibly dig up on a particular candidate. Did you hear about the robocall? Oh, you didn't hear about that one. Well, this coincides with what we're talking about right now for information that's could be paid for damaging information. Robocall claims Washington Post reporter will pay for damaging info. It's not true. That's what we hear, but for the right price, don't you think that they would pay it? They always do. Whether the Post, whether the Times, whoever is looking for a story that has meat in it, they're going to pay top dollar. Alabama voters are receiving robocalls from a man who says, allegedly, that he is a reporter for the Washington Post who will pay for damaging information on Roy Moore. The robocall follows a report by Washington Post last week in which 4 women said that Moore asked them out on dates when they were teenagers, and he was in his early 30s. One of the women, Leah Kaufman, now 53, said that Moore took her to his home, undressed her, groped her, and placed her hand on his underwear when she was only 14 years old. Another woman, Beverly Young Nelson, she said Monday in a news conference that Moore groped her inside a car when she was 16 years old and threatened her not to tell anyone. Of course, Moore and his campaign denied the allegations and have accused the Post of fabricating the story. Al Moore, an Alabama pastor, told WKRG that he didn't answer a call from a private number, so it left him a message. It says, "Hi, this is, you want to hear this? This is the robocall." Okay, I'll read it. "Hi, this is Bernie Bernstein. I'm a reporter from the Washington Post calling to find out if anyone at this address is a female between the ages of 54 to 57 years old willing to make damaging remarks about candidate Roy Moore for a reward between $5,000 and $7,000. We'll not be fully investigating these claims. However, we will make a written report. I can be reached by email," and he gives his email at the Washington Post. The pastor said that he tried to contact the caller, though the email address provided through the email address, but the message came back undeliverable. So there's stuff like this going on. I mean, listen, if you can find information, salacious information, sexual